So how much do we hear Rossini's influence, do you think, in those Neapolitan operas in particular, in those sort of 1820s?
Yeah, enormously. I think the story of the 1820s, as far as Donizetti is concerned, is a gradual emancipation away from Rossini, but it takes a huge effort, and there's still elements of it there in the 1830s, but things do change quite rapidly at the beginning of the 1830s.
All right, well, let's listen to what this actually sounds like in action, because we're going to listen to a bit of L'Esole di Roma, an opera he wrote for Naples, premiered there in 1828. We've talked about this before. You think it's a particularly good example of Donizetti in kind of Rossini mode?
Well, some of it is, yeah, and the bit we're going to listen to certainly is.
That's part of the final scene.
Yeah, the final scene. I mean, in fact, the opera as a whole is quite interesting because it's an attempt, I think, to get away from Rossini, but you keep getting dragged back. And in the great moments where the soloists shine, inevitably Rossini comes to the fore. Now, you want the plot again,
I want the plot.
You?
I've got that look on my face. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Well, she's very happy. Which is unusual at the end of a serious opera.
That's true, yeah.
This is a happy end. Her lover, her beloved, who's a tenor, of course, was condemned to be thrown to the lions. We're in ancient Rome, you'll be pleased to know. But actually, he was thrown to a lion who knew him in a previous escapade.
And to think people say that opera is silly.
I know. And the lion said, go your way. And the emperor was so pleased by this that he forgave the guy who was thrown. And so she's celebrating the fact that everything's okay.
Thank you. Well, look, here's soprano Albina Shaghe-Muratova again in her final aria from Donizetti's opera L'Esole di Roma. Donizetti doing his very best Rossini impression there. We were listening to Albina Shaghe-Muratova in the finale of Donizetti's L'Esole di Roma with the Britten Sinfonia and the Opera Rara chorus conducted by Opera Rara's artistic director Carlo Rizzi. Gosh, that really is exceptionally virtuosic stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's the end. It's the last moment in the opera, but I think the interesting thing is, I said, she's overcome with joy at this point, but but she could be overcome with despair. I mean,
it's an extreme state, isn't it? That coloratura, this kind of ornamentation, is great for conveying these extreme states that women in particular, tenors could suffer it too, but women in particular.
But it's extreme in a non-specific way, if you want. As I say, she could be about to die, she could be about to marry. It's the latter in this case. But there's actually no way of telling from the music, because the music is just emotional outpouring, if you want. Yeah.
Well, we're in a moment before realism has taken on any kind of meaning in opera, aren't we? That this is music doing its thing. This is extreme music. It's a kind of Olympic sport version of operatic singing. It's extraordinary stuff. And again, a relatively simple orchestral accompaniment. It's very clearly a voice with an accompaniment.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, in that, you saw that Rossini does it as well. There are these exchanges, particularly with the woodwind. So you get this sort of matching of the sound of the woodwind with the sound of the voice. And it gives this sort of brightness, to the texture. So, but it's always the orchestra is always supporting or imitating the voice, not doing something different.
And how did this opera go down in Naples in 1828? Do we know?
Yes. And it had a bit of a rough ride, it has to be said. And I think not because of this kind of music, which the audience was used to, but the fact that Donizetti was experimenting with other modes, particularly at the ends of acts. And this was something that the Neapolitans didn't choose to take very positively.